Doesn't it seem like when it comes to nutrition, there are more opinions than facts to go around? Every day we hear new theories about diets and supplements and best foods to eat. Well, my role is to take the mystery out of good nutrition and look at the science. Welcome to the Nutrition Facts podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Greger. Today we finish the webinar on thyroid health with answers to questions from our webinar audience.
It is time for me to take questions. First question in the queue, which is, please comment on the effect of cruciferous vegetables, both raw and cooked, have on the thyroid gland. I've heard a variety of opinions regarding cruciferous vegetables, one being they need to be cooked for a minimum of 30 minutes and not to be eaten raw when dealing with thyroid disorder. What are your thoughts? A fantastic question. So there are these so-called goitrogenic compounds found in some really healthy foods. Soy, we talked about. There's also cruciferous vegetables, also flax seeds. Now, these goitrogenic compounds interfere with the uptake of iodine into the thyroid gland, and so really only cause a problem at normal doses of these foods when you have inadequate iodine intake. So if you have marginal iodine status, and then on top of that, you're eating lots of soy, cruciferous, or flax seeds, you can run into problems. Okay, so the answer is to not avoid these super healthy foods. The answer is to just make sure you have enough iodine. Now, that's, note I made a little caveat saying normal amounts of food. If you go way back, and in fact, I looked it up during the break here. This was the video November 3rd, 2010, over 10 years ago on Nutrition Facts. The video is called Overdosing on Greens, Raw Cruciferous Vegetables, How Much is Too Much? And yes, you can indeed overdo it. So you don't have to worry about cooked cruciferous vegetables because the goitrogenic compounds are totally destroyed. It does take 30 minutes. But you can overdose on raw cruciferous vegetables, whether or not you have thyroid issues, because everybody needs a functional thyroid gland. Yes, New England Journal of Medicine, coma induced by raw bok choy. She was eating about 3 pounds a day, the woman in this case study, 3 pounds a day, every day of raw bok choy, 15 cups a day of raw cruciferous is too much. In the 2 months before she was admitted to the intensive care unit in respiratory failure, she had consumed about 1,000 cups of raw bok choy. Too much. Now, each cruciferous vegetable is different in terms of the amount of these compounds. And so if you actually go to the video I show, you can probably get away with 50 cups of raw cauliflower a day, because cauliflower has less of these compounds. The cruciferous vegetable with the most is mustard greens. And so just 3 cups of mustard greens, of raw mustard greens, may be too much. I don't know who eats raw mustard greens. I mean, cooked mustard greens is delicious, but I don't know. But yeah, 3 cups of raw mustard greens, even if you have normal thyroid function, can raise your levels so much, interfere with even normal iodine levels. And so, yes, indeed. Okay, next question is, could my thyroid be the cause of periodic night sweats, inability to stay asleep, and general lack of energy? Well, what you describe is a kind of a combination of hyperthyroidism symptoms and hypothyroidism symptoms, so probably not, right? You can't simultaneously have an overactive and an underactive thyroid gland. So night sweats would be more like a hyperactive hyperthyroidism, whereas lack of energy may be more hypothyroidism. I don't know who the questioner is, but it sounds like kind of symptoms of perimenopause. When we start going through menopause, you have night sweats, insomnia, a bunch of other issues. But so go to your doctor, figure out what it is. Okay. Next question. Is there a connection between healthy thyroid and gut health, specifically bowel health? I think from what I saw, it's mostly yes, but it's the other way around. It's the impact of your gut on your thyroid rather than the impact of your thyroid. Now, like you have hypothyroidism, you get constipated. I mean, can have implications for your gut. But what I find most fascinating is how the gut can impact your thyroid. And so what we want to do is eat a lot of prebiotics, which is fiber and resistant starch found throughout the plant kingdom and all whole plant foods, but concentrated in the drier whole plant foods, which is whole grains and legumes, beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils. Those are the most concentrated sources. And so that's where my Bro Bowl comes, right? It's one of the myriad uses of Bro, which is this prebiotic mix to feed your good gut bacteria and to foster the growth of the fiber-feeding bacteria like Prevotella, which have an anti-inflammatory effect. We feed them, they feed us right back with all sorts of wonderful things. Whereas if we eat foods stripped of fiber, like junk foods or animal foods, we can actually foster growth of bad bacteria that make toxic things, toxic metabolites like trimethylamine, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so yes, there is a connection between healthy thyroid and gut health. And we're finding more and more diseases are linked to the gut, even psychiatric diseases, anything having to do with inflammation, because the gut microbiome can have such a impact on systemic inflammation. So keep your gut bugs happy. How do we do that? By feeding them prebiotics and not taking antibiotics unless we really need them. Okay. Can I take black cumin alongside prescribed medications? Does it have to be ground before eating? You can take black cumin with prescribed medications as long as that prescribed medication isn't your thyroid replacement hormones, right? We want to take all thyroid hormones on an empty stomach. But you can otherwise take black cumin with other meds. Does it have to be ground before eating? Well, we don't know, but the study was done with ground. So I would do what the study says. So I would presume many of the benefits of black cumin seeds are lost if you don't grind them up. So what do? You can buy pre-ground, certainly. Or you can put it in a pepper grinder, which is what I do. I put black cumin seeds in a pepper grinder and just grind it on your food because it actually tastes like pepper and it's tasty. If you don't like the taste, some people don't like spicy food. Some people like bland food. You can get ground black cumin seed supplements. One ingredient, it's not an extract or anything. It's not a black seed oil. You see a lot of supplements like that. Just pure ground black cumin seeds. But you try them out. I mean, it's actually tasty. If you like it, then, one less pill to take. Okay. This person had a complete bilateral thyroidectomy a dozen years ago. Any specific advice for those who no longer have a thyroid? How much iodine should those without thyroid take? Okay. So if you don't have a thyroid gland, then, suppressing the inflammation of your thyroid or preventing the autoimmune antibodies, suppressing the autoimmune antibodies that are attacking your thyroid glands doesn't make any sense. You just don't have a thyroid to attack anymore. So you need to be on thyroid replacement hormone your whole life, like Synthroid, to just bring your levels up. Many people are hesitant to take drugs, but don't think of it as a drug. It's not really a drug. You're just bringing your levels up to normal. It's not like adding some, foreign substance. You're adding just normal, regular substance that your body would normally make. It's the exact same stuff. And you're just bringing your levels back up to normal. The question about iodine intake is fascinating. If the only function of iodine in the body is to make thyroid hormones, then you don't need any iodine if you don't have a thyroid. But I actually don't know if that's the case. That's the only thing that I know iodine does in the body is as part of thyroid hormones. But does your body need iodine for other things? I have no idea. Wow. So it just fascinates me when I don't know something and I want to look it up. So I don't know the answer to that. If you need any iodine whatsoever, you don't have a thyroid gland. Now, of course, if you got pregnant, then you do have a thyroid gland in your uterus or developing one. So then, of course, you need to get iodine. Okay. Is intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating safe for someone with Hashimoto's? Oh, I don't see why not. So if you have Hashimoto's and you're being treated with thyroid replacement hormone, you're just like everybody else. Basically, you're just on this medication. It's not really medication, right? You're just bringing your levels back to normal. So you should be able to intermittent fast or time-restricted eat like anybody else. Of course, I would encourage people to check out my videos or read the chapter in How Not to Diet on intermittent fasting. I talk about the pros and cons of all the different types. There's actually downsides to many of them. So there are benefits to the fasting mimicking diet and early time-restricted feeding. Okay, that's the kind of spoiler alert there. All right. Do I think it's possible to reverse hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's with dietary change? Okay, well, it depends what's causing the hypothyroidism. That all hypothyroidism means is underactive thyroid gland. If it's caused by iodine deficiency, well, then absolutely it can be reversed with diet. In fact, that's the only way to reverse. I mean, that's what you do. You're not getting enough iodine. You get enough iodine, and poof, it reverses because it was a consequence of your iodine deficiency. Probably the most common cause of hypothyroidism on the planet, presumably that's iodine deficiency, not in the industrialized world, but in the total world. And so, yeah, diet is the preferred treatment. But in terms of Hashimoto's, can you reverse Hashimoto's with a dietary change alone? And we have no data. I mean, well, the paleo diet was put to the test and found to be useless. There's never been a study where they put people on a plant-based diet to see if you can actually change. And there's this black cumin study, which showed an improvement. So I guess you could say that's a reversal of the progression, right? It's actually an improvement in thyroid function, actually started pumping out more thyroid hormone and your body was responding. And it decreased these anti-thyroid antibodies that were attacking your thyroid. So in that way, I guess it's reversing. But like when you talk about reversal, like so that you don't have the disease at all anymore and your thyroid function is fine, that we don't know. But it's certainly, particularly because Hashimoto's patients are at higher risk for heart disease, well, then you have to be on a plant-based diet. I mean, we should be on a plant-based diet anyway, whole food plant-based diet, to protect ourselves from heart disease. So, and try adding black cumin and report back to me and tell me how well it works. Okay. Next is a question. Can a gluten-free diet help with Hashimoto's? Should gluten be avoided for people with high thyroid antibodies? Before I say no, let me look up. I'm doing a quick PubMed search just to make sure. But the connection one here between gluten-free diets and Hashimoto's is just a connection between different autoimmune diseases. If you have one autoimmune disease, you are at increased likelihood of having another autoimmune disease. So if you have type 1 diabetes, or if you have Hashimoto's, or if you have rheumatoid arthritis or lupus, or then you may be at higher likelihood of having other ones, including an autoimmune disease called celiac disease. For celiac disease patients, you absolutely have to avoid gluten. It's rare. It's only about 1 in 140 people here in the States. But if you're at the less than 1% that actually has celiac disease, then you have to avoid gluten. And so if you have anti-thyroid antibodies, you're at higher risk of having celiac disease, but it doesn't mean you have celiac disease. And in terms of could it help, there was just an article published in the summer of 2019, and it found that serum titers, gluten-free diet for 6 months, a small group of 34 women, did not affect thyroid hormone levels. So going on a gluten-free diet for those without celiac disease did not affect their thyroid function. So there's the answer to your question. And are there any other studies that looked at it? I don't want to, you always got to look at all the studies done on there's only 19 papers, and it's only been put to the test once, and it failed, and the one time it was put to the test. Of course, you have celiac disease. That's another question. And you just have to avoid gluten, but it's not because of your thyroid, it's because of your celiac. Okay. Next question. What are the chances of introducing eliminated foods back to your diet intermittently at a later time after healing? So this question is implying that an elimination diet will help with Hashimoto's, and that's not the case. Elimination diets are useful for if somebody has some strange allergy or food intolerance to figure out what is causing an issue. I would not expect that to be the case with thyroid function. Okay, next question. Is there a relationship between thyroid issues and PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome? I don't know. Let's find out. It says Hashimoto's may increase polycystic ovary syndrome in Asia. This is a 2020 study. It does look like there's an increased risk of PCOS in those with autoimmune thyroid disease. All right. Oh, even suggesting that PCOS may actually be an autoimmune disease or have some autoimmune component. I'm just trying to see the hazard ratios here. Not a huge amount, but increased risk like 40%. That's significant. So whatever risk you have for polycystic ovaries, if you have autoimmune thyroiditis, your risk is about 40% more based on the single study published April 2020. It's just the most recent study that's been done on it, at least that's cataloged by the largest medical library database, which is PubMed. Can a person following a plant-based diet ever completely come off thyroid medications like levothyroxine? And the answer is probably no, because most people with Hashimoto's, they've so fibrosed their thyroid, so scarred it up because your body was attacking it, that it basically loses its function. Just like, if you have type 2 diabetes, a plant-based diet can often reverse completely type 2 diabetes, but the good odds are only within like the first 8 years. You can get some really good success rates with reversing type 2 diabetes completely, but after 8 years, it's still possible, but the reversal rates go down, and that's because your ability of your pancreas to secrete insulin just gets so hammered after so many years that even if you go on a good diet, it may be kind of too late. Your pancreas may have petered out. Well, another gland, your thyroid, can also get so adversely affected, there's just kind of no going back. Even if you were able to decrease the inflammation, decrease the autoimmune antibodies, it may be too late. But again, it's not really, I don't think of it as a thyroid medication, because it's not medication. It's just the actual hormone that your body makes or used to make, but just doesn't make enough. So you just bring your levels up. So you're not introducing some kind of, fancy pharma drug. You're literally just taking the same hormones, very simple hormone, simple molecule, back to the levels where it should be for optimal health, which is important.
Visit NutritionFacts.org/audio to see all the podcast episodes with descriptions that include links to the associated videos. Sources cited and other details are available on each video's page. Information about my books, How Not to Die, How Not to Diet, and How Not to Age, is at NutritionFacts.org/books. All proceeds of which I get are donated directly to charity. And I've got a new book in the publication pipeline, the manuscript for How Not to Hurt, on diet and lifestyle approaches to pain management. It's been handed in and will be published December 15th. I'm going to be doing a series of webinars to feature some of the new research I discovered. Sign up for our free newsletter at NutritionFacts.org/subscribe to stay updated on when those will be. NutritionFacts.org is a science-based nonprofit, and everything on the website is free. There are no ads, no corporate sponsorships, no kickbacks. We're strictly non-commercial, not selling anything, just put up as a public service, as a labor of love, as a tribute to my grandmother, whose own life was saved with evidence-based nutrition. We just have like a Wikipedia-type nonprofit model where everything's free, and we just hope maybe 1 in 1,000 people will find it so valuable that they'll kick in a few bucks so we can continue to churn out new content to help you and your family be healthier. Thanks for listening.